Well,
So if you've ever felt like you're doing, everything right, being attentive, logical, reliable, and yet the spark still seems to fade, this deep dive is, well, it's probably for you.
it really is. We're looking at this collection of ideas suggesting that so much of modern dating advice, everything from like Hollywood movies to self-help books, gets one thing catastrophically wrong.
And what's that one thing?
The core of our mission today is to analyze this foundational premise. Attraction is emotional, not logical.
Okay.
And that isn't just, a minor distinction. It's everything. The most jarring part is this. When you try to fix an emotional problem, like distance, with a logical argument, you don't just fail.
You make it worse.
You actively extinguish the very feeling you were trying so desperately to save. It's like trying to put out a fire with gasoline.
So we need to understand that desire operates on a completely different wavelength than our intellect.
Exactly. It's an awakening, really. Understanding that connection is governed by the primal, fast-acting parts of the brain, the gut feeling, not the rational, slow-moving part that makes pro and con lists.
If you've been trying to appeal to her rational mind, you've basically been speaking the wrong language.
To the wrong part of her brain, yeah.
Okay, let's unpack this right away, because this is the classic painful mystery, isn't it? Why does the person who seems the most available, the most logical choice, the nice guy who makes sense on paper, why does he so often lose the very connection he's trying so hard to keep?
Well, the sources pin it on brain biology. Attraction is rooted deep in the limbic system.
The emotional brain.
Right. It governs emotion, memory, survival instincts. It operates on things like chemistry, energy, rhythm. It's the part of the brain that decides you're captivated 30 seconds into meeting someone.
Long before your logical brain, your neocortex, can even process their job title or their 5-year plan.
Precisely. And that difference in speed, that's where the fatal mistake happens. When a man senses that shift, the texts get shorter, her energy drops. He panics.
And panic sends him right to his rational brain. He reaches for the wrong tool.
He tries to fix it with evidence. This is the moment he drafts that long, sincere message. He starts listing their shared history, reminding her of his loyalty, explaining why logically they should be together.
He's trying to persuade her back into feeling something.
But you can't win desire like a court case. It doesn't respond to facts and arguments.
I think the analogy in the material is just so vivid. Logic is for your taxes, for engineering, for legal contracts. It's organized, dependable, predictable.
But attraction, that lives in the world of music, suspense, curiosity, tension.
So if you show up with a spreadsheet detailing why you're a superior partner,
You're just speaking the wrong language. You're appealing to her intellect when her feelings are craving some kind of mystery.
let's get really concrete with this. We need to walk through the scenarios where this all collapses. Let's start with that first one.
Yeah.
What the sources call the good guy's wall of text.
Right, the negotiation. So imagine the scene. He feels the distance growing, the relationship is slipping, and he spends an hour crafting this perfect, heartfelt essay.
Pouring his heart out.
He sends it. He explains he's loyal, he's committed, he deserves an answer. Now, logically, he's just being vulnerable and communicative, right?
Wait, hold on a second. This pushes back hard against everything we're told. We're encouraged to be communicative, honest, emotionally vulnerable. Isn't he just following the rules of being a good partner?
That is a crucial distinction, and the nuance is everything. Look, vulnerability is incredibly powerful when it comes from a place of secure self-worth.
Okay.
But when logic, or in this case, a display of vulnerability, is used as a tool to persuade someone or a weapon to demand attention, it's really just panic disguised as honesty.
Ah, I see.
When she gets that wall of text, she doesn't feel desired. She feels guilt. She feels pressure. She feels this heavy sense of obligation because of the pain he's expressing.
And none of those are ingredients for attraction.
Not at all. She feels smothered. The message he's sending, without realizing it, is, I need you to confirm my value. And that lack of self-sufficiency is what pushes her away.
So a secure man would handle it differently.
A man who is secure in his own value addresses issues with, concise clarity, not with an essay pleading for reassurance.
That distinction makes so much sense. The attempt to persuade is the panic signal. Okay, what about the second case? The man who tries to argue when she says she's feeling distant.
Yeah, the debate. She might say something like, I just don't feel the spark anymore.
And he immediately becomes a prosecuting attorney. He starts cross-examining her feelings. But last Tuesday, we had a great time, or nothing has changed since we met.
Or the worst one, tell me what I did wrong. He's trying to defeat an emotional reality with a factual timeline, and you just can't.
It's a losing battle.
It is, because the emotional mind doesn't respond to evidence. By trying to debate her feelings, he makes her associate him not with joy or inspiration, but with stress, defensiveness, justification.
He's become a desperate negotiator.
Which brings us to that defining contrast. The stable man versus the passionate man. The stable man offers logic. He's predictable, reliable, always available. He's the safe bet.
And the passionate man.
He's busy, unpredictable. He's moving with this incredible momentum in his own life, so he offers emotional tension.
And what's fascinating here is that stability is supposed to be the goal, right? It's the prize. But the sources suggest that the stable man's total predictability, it leads to an emotional flatline.
Exactly. And the woman often ends up obsessing over the passionate man, who is often way less reliable.
So why? What's happening there?
It's because his unpredictability and his necessary absence create two things the stable man eliminates: suspense and longing.
Her emotional brain is being awakened by the variability.
Right. Stability offers safety and comfort, which is great for a long-term partnership, but it can be absolutely lethal to that initial fire of desire, which really thrives on contrast and mystery.
So if constant contact and logical arguments kill the spark, then the successful approach has to be the opposite.
That's it. Desire is nourished by space, by purposeful absence, not by this overwhelming constant presence.
This is the fire analogy.
Yes. Desire is a flame. It needs fuel, sure, that's the connection, the positive interaction.
Yeah.
But critically, it also needs space. It needs oxygen to breathe.
In constant contact.
The good morning and good night texts, the instant replies, sharing every single thought that just smothers the flame. It chokes and dies.
The sources map it out pretty clearly. Constant availability leads to predictability.
Which becomes familiar.
And familiar becomes routine.
And routine is the #1 killer of attraction because there is zero anticipation. There's nothing to wonder about.
Which is why the sources champion the idea of the purpose-driven man. And this isn't about being a jerk or playing games.
Not at all. It's about having your own priorities. This man has a mission, goals, genuine momentum in his own life. He works, he builds things, he responds when it fits his schedule.
He's warm when he connects, but he's not just sitting by the phone waiting.
And the insight there is profound. Because he's not instantly available, she naturally wonders about him. She thinks about what he's doing. She fills those empty spaces with her own curiosity.
So when he finally does message her, his attention feels valuable.
It feels intentional, not like a required performance. His own self-directed life naturally creates that magnetic gap that desire needs to flourish.
And there's actually like a biological reason for this, right? It's not just a theory.
Oh, absolutely. We can connect this directly to brain mechanics through the principle of variable reward.
Intermittent reinforcement.
That's the one. Human beings we're wired to respond incredibly strongly to it. It's the neuroscience behind why social media scrolling is so addictive, or why people gamble.
You never know when you're going to get the reward, so you keep checking.
Exactly. When the reward, in this case, his attention or his communication, is unpredictable in its timing, the emotional brain becomes hyper-focused. It floods your system with dopamine spikes in anticipation of that next connection.
And when it's predictable, the 8:01 a.m. text every day.
The emotional brain just stops paying attention. It flatlines. It knows what's coming. The purpose-driven man, simply by living his life, accidentally creates this potent variability, and it's magnetic.
Okay, this is where we need to move from theory to action. What does someone listening to this do, like right now, to break this cycle of logical suffocation?
The source material offers a very concrete assignment.
The first, and maybe most crucial habit to eliminate, is the robotic good morning, good night message ritual.
It's described as one of the most destructive habits.
Why so destructive?
Because it removes all tension and replaces it with sheer obligation. It's the definition of a predictable, boring routine.
So if you're doing this, what happens when you stop?
The effect is an immediate emotional recalibration for both of you. Day one, you just stop. She notices the pattern is broken. She might feel a small flicker of curiosity.
Okay.
By day 3, that curiosity starts to grow into genuine thought. She actually feels the absence, and you begin to occupy more space in her mind simply because you aren't filling it with empty habitual contact.
Yee.
By day 4, the sources suggest she's very likely to initiate contact herself, just to close that curiosity loop. And when you finally do connect, it feels alive. It feels intentional.
Not scripted.
Exactly. You're breaking an unconscious pattern, you're reintroducing mystery, and most importantly, you're creating the oxygen that longing needs to even exist.
But I want to circle back to the challenge we brought up earlier. This can sound a lot like manipulation, like you're playing games. How do you make sure it's healthy space and not just, a tactic?
That's where the idea of purpose and polarity becomes absolutely essential. If you are pulling back just to get a reaction, that is manipulation and it's fragile, it'll fall apart.
So the motivation matters.
The motivation is everything. If you are genuinely engaged in your own purpose, your career, your hobbies, your mission, and that is what dictates your availability, then the space you create is authentic and self-respecting.
That's where polarity comes in.
That's it. In attraction, polarity is the dynamic tension between two complementary energies. You can think of it as masculine drive, purpose, momentum, certainty, and feminine receptivity, emotion, flow, connection.
And when a man is constantly available, desperately seeking connection,
That polarity collapses. The energies become identical. They're both just clinging. There's no tension, no spark.
so the man who gets this stops trying to convince or negotiate.
He stops justifying his worth. He just lives his worth. He leads with this strong sense of presence and polarity. He's not chasing because he's busy building something more important than the chase itself.
The core truth, then, is that your value isn't determined by the quantity of effort you put into chasing someone.
It's reflected in the quality of emotion you inspire through your own self-possessed strength.
And ultimately, women gravitate towards men who are already whole, who don't need their affection for emotional survival or for validation.
They lean away from men who use affection like a security blanket. The man who can tolerate the silence, who can hold that gap without his anxiety pushing him toward panic and logic. He becomes the magnetic force she can't forget.
His silence, finally, has meaning.
It has weight.
So the choice for you, the listener, seems pretty stark. You can continue clinging to logic, over-communicating, and suffocating the spark, or you can accept the emotional blueprint of desire, step back, and focus on building your own purposeful momentum.
The man who stops chasing doesn't lose women. He just discovers which women were aligned with his genuine self-directed worth from the beginning. He becomes the rare one whose silence actually has meaning.
And that brings us to our final thought.
Here it is, a question for you to carry forward. What essential aspect of your life, your purpose, can you strengthen today to create that magnetic momentum and finally break free from the need to persuade?